Welcome to the Rise and Flow podcast with me, your host, Elaine, a 5-1 manifester and the goddess of fun. This is a space where we go deep into unlocking your magic so you can step into your power in your life and business. Tune in weekly with me and a host of expansive guests where we dive deep into areas such as energetics, spirituality, and business so you can rise and flow. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the studio. And we have a special episode on the show today because we are recording on behalf of Podcastathon, which is the largest charity podcast event in the world. So myself, the amazing Melody Crisp here, and 600 podcasters in over 60 countries are coming together to showcase charities around the world who are making impact and change. So I'm bringing on Melody Crisp, who is the co-founder of Thrive, my amazing charity partner. You are based in Myanmar, helping displaced communities. This is our second episode. So welcome back, Melody, onto the show.
Thanks.
Just tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself.
I'm Melody, and I have my Doctor of Medical Science. And by trade, I'm a physician assistant, but ended up working in the humanitarian world. I've been doing that for 10 years now this coming week, and am working with local partners on the ground in Myanmar to essentially see and be the change we want to see.
I'm so happy to have you here again. I know we reached out to give everyone a bit of a backstory on this episode. So we really want to dig into like how we can lead change in the humanitarian space. And this is for everybody. This is not just for charity. This is for individuals. Because as we all know, we're all jaded by the weight of the world at times, which can feel like, what can I actually do to make change? And I reached out to Melody last year in 2025 after there was an earthquake in Myanmar, because I lived in Myanmar in 2012, 13, 14, after Myanmar came out of military rule on a digital transformation project. So a country that has a massive impact on my life, my being. And when it went into civil war again in 2020 and the earthquake happened, I actually really felt called, I was like, to give back in some way. And I reached out to Melody because it was really difficult to get money into the country at the time. And it's the hardest country to get humanitarian aid to in general. And it's also super, super corrupt, which makes you extremely well versed to talk about like the challenges the charities face. I'm going right in there straight away that they face in today's day and age, right? So yeah, we want to have some real conversations about charities, about fundraising, about how jaded people are, how people actually aren't even donating now. It's just like, but there's so much noise online and there's a lot of emotion around that as well. So Melody, first of all, I would like you to kind of give us a bit of background into why you chose this as a profession. And you came in to lead change in the humanitarian space as a normal working woman, not a billionaire, not a millionaire. Tell us all.
How did I get into this? Well, I think it's something I've wanted to do since I was little. So as long as I can remember, I've wanted to, like the cheesy ways, help people. And I can remember that since I was a little kid. So I knew I wanted to do something that was service oriented, and it took lots of twists and turns in my career before I landed on humanitarian aid via medicine. So medicine plays a huge role in the service that I do personally, and then the work we do at Thrive. But yeah, it's just something I've always had in me that I can't even really explain. It's just this drive that's there that no matter what I do, I need to be doing something that benefits other people.
No, and this is it. Like when we've talked about so many things on soul purpose, there's just an element of like, I just feel really drawn to this and I want to make change in the world. And
Yes.
anyone I think that even listens to this podcast knows that they're here for more than just the standard 9 to 5 bullshit in life. And it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So tell me, you went into medicine and then how the hell did you end up in Myanmar actually, by the way? Like, so you, by the way, set up this amazing charity with your husband. Let's not forget about him.
No, he's amazing. So we worked for another nonprofit in India for we were physically in India for 4 years, and we found ourselves in Thailand during COVID. We were waiting for the borders to open, and we thought it would be a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. And as time went on, it became evident that that was not an option for us. And so we really took stock of our lives. We had burnt out. Our marriage was in shambles. Our kids were struggling. I was struggling. My husband was struggling. Everything was just kind of a hot mess. And through that, we decided we needed to make some big changes in our life. And that was stepping into who we were as people and having a job that kind of more aligned with that. And so we started Thrive, and the coup had happened in Myanmar as COVID was happening. And so it was a great way for us to do the work that we are really passionate and are really passionate about, which is working with people that typically are on the fringes that people forget about or aren't seen. And both Kelly, my husband, and I have a lot of experience working in those spaces and places with people. So it was just a great use of our skills and our passions, and then we got to do it the way we wanted to.
Okay, great. So let's dig into that a little bit, right? So we know the humanitarian space is super corrupt. Like when we ran the we were when we charity fundraiser for Myanmar last year, like I could not get over like not backlash, but like I suppose the rejection. When I was like I was hardcore out into everyone, hey, make a donation to our fundraiser, make a donation to our fundraiser. And a lot of people were like to me, no, I don't donate to the Red Cross or UNICEF or any of these organizations because so much of the money goes to admin, all these big salaries, red tape, etc. And I was like, no. I was like, why am I having to fight with you for this? I'm like, there is 16 million people displaced in this country and nobody in the world is talking about it. It's like out of the news cycle 3 days after the earthquake. I'm like, this money is going directly to the people on the ground, which I know we recall we had a huge ordeal to get the money into your hands and onto the ground. I was like, it would have been
Yes.
faster to fucking fly over myself. Based on based on your experience, Based on your experience, I suppose, working for those other professional bodies that you've ever worked for, what were some of the things that you seen that you were like, okay, this is how we're gonna fucking do this differently in your charity?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of misinformation about nonprofits and charity work that I even thought I had a good grasp on being on the inside, and then realized as we set up our own nonprofit, like maybe I didn't even understand. So there's so much we could talk about within this. The thing that really, I think, was our main driver was seeing amazing people on the ground who are part of the community, who know the solutions, who are going to be there long after the foreigners are gone, who weren't getting funded and we're like, the flow of money goes from the top to the bottom. And so by the time you actually get to the people who are on the ground doing the best work, that money has been like funneled down so much. And so we're trying to build a more direct like line essentially to people who are on the ground doing the amazing work and getting them funded. And that with their solutions. That's like the key thing is their solutions. They're on the ground, they understand the context, they're brilliant minds, they're working hard. They should be the source of the solutions for their community. And we like believe that so passionately, and we're tired of like people from the outside coming in who have no idea what's going on or what's on the ground saying, we know better. This is the way it's always been done. This is the way it should be done. These are the paperwork. These are things you have to fill out. These are the words you need to know. You need to speak English, whatever. Like, those are the things we're trying to get rid of because it's ridiculous.
Okay, it basically sounds like it's a marketing campaign, no?
Me or the big NGOs?
No, the script that people are being given. It's like, you've got the white Western people coming into
Mm-hmm.
these countries. Like, I mean, just let it rip, Melody. Like, this is a
Yeah, colonialism, the patriarchy, like let you if you want me to let it rip, it's like
yeah,
all
let it rip.
steeped
This is what we're here for.
like nonprofits, just like many other parts of the world and industries are steeped in colonialism and the patriarchy. And we were like, I'm sure have been instruments of that at some point coming from a wealthy Western nation and moving in, but we really quickly learned and saw that that's outdated and there needs to be a complete overhaul of the system and things need to be done differently and the like local voices need to be amplified and heard and given the respect and honor that they deserve.
Yes. Can we give a real life example of this? Like in terms of like for people, I suppose, to understand. I mean, because you've been behind the scenes. I've also lived in Myanmar as well, and also been a part of corporate social responsibility campaigns and stuff. And you can see, and it's like again, oh, what we think works from the outside, but like we're not the people who's like the ones living on the streets or has not been able to contact family in 6 months, or recovering after earthquakes and you've lost like your entire house and community and all of these kind of things. So like what's the real, because you can see the real impact of the work you guys are doing on the ground when it's like they actually get the cash and you're here going, okay, this water filter is what was needed, not thousands of euro donated for plastic bottles. That's not actually not going to fucking affect long-term change. It just looks good on a fucking press release picture for 5 minutes.
Well, that's one of them. You just named it because we did at the earthquake, 50 water filters were delivered, and we delivered 2.5 million jat to a clean water delivery system. But what they did was they didn't buy plastic water bottles, as they bought a filtration system that would filter the community, like provide filtration for the community. And we didn't provide plastic water bottles, we provided a filtration system. But what that does is it means our impact numbers don't look good because it's 50 units of something rather than like, oh, we delivered a ton of water, right? Or like the optics of it don't look as good.
Really? Because for me, when I was actually reaching out to that for something else that we were doing, and I was like, Jesus, this is amazing in terms of like on so many different levels across the ecosystem, right? Because it means, well, one, you've got a solid place where people can come and get continuous access to the water, not just like one or two times. It's like the environmental impact as well, like that you're saving with the amount of plastic. Yeah, there's just, and it's long term. It's actually starting to create sustainable change. And then you stack on more projects, and then it's like, okay, we actually can get out of survival mode, because this is like the real big mission with Thrive, right? It's like that communities deserve to thrive. It's not just like, let's do a bit of patchwork here. Well, you've got so many other examples of this in terms of like, say, for example, the school.
Yeah, so the school, one of the schools we gave money to, we just gave them, well, I'm going to go back to the earthquake a bit because there was a school that we funded rebuilding for. And rather than rebuild the school like I thought they would with the funds we gave, they built trenches so that when the airstrikes come, the students don't die. That is not how I would have spent the money, right? I would have spent the money investing in books or like a structure. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done, but I was very shocked to get the report back and to see that they had built trenches for the kids. But I loved it because it was like, we're going to keep these kids alive. They're in the trenches with their books. I have pictures of them in the trenches with their books studying. And it's a really like harsh picture, right? Like that's not something that's fun to see, but that's what the money was needed. And that's how it was used. So I think it's a really great example of letting the community lead.
The work that you guys are doing in the school, the campaign around like, obviously financing the kids to go to school so that they're not actually recruited by the military.
Yes.
I mean,
Because if they
that's an,
don't go to school, what happens? They need money at some point in their life. So they either, like, they're bored. So if they're bored and they're not going to school and there's nothing for them to do, they get turned to drugs and alcohol or like risky behaviors, or they get recruited by the military to go fight and then they get killed because you have to do something with your life. You can't just sit around and wait forever. So the school's actually meeting a massive need and giving these kids a really great, wonderful use of their time that keeps them preoccupied and happy, but they're learning and they're developing skills that can serve them in the future and that serves the community. Like the parents are then able to go work and tend to their fields and do the things that they can't do when someone has to watch the kids. And I mean, I don't think I need to say this, but education is like such a vitally important building block for communities and societies. So
humongous, and particularly in like developing the third world countries, it's like it's the ultimate pillar. So I just think that is like such a gorgeous initiative. But like you guys developed that because you've got leaders on the ground, and it's very much like asking, what does everyone
We
need?
didn't develop it. Our leader developed it
Fully herself.
fully herself. We did like nothing. Like that's what I love about this is when you like have these amazing partners like we have, they're already doing amazing work. We're not coming in with anything. She's developed the school and she's come up with the idea and the plan and the need and the funding assessment and everything. And we're just connecting people to her and her work.
So it's your background in anthropology and understanding cultures, and also our joint obsession for, I suppose, humanity and people reaching their potential has led you to look at this in a different approach. But like, how did you begin? Like, if someone is here kind of going like, wow, this is actually a way better framework, because you're 3-5 Manny Jen, right?
I think so.
I think
I
you
think I
definitely,
trust you on this one.
I'm pretty sure
I'd
you
have to
are.
like go pull it up.
You definitely have the 5. I can't remember because I haven't actually,
Yes, I know I have the five.
I haven't done your chart.
I
I
think,
remember it was the 5 because it's the visionary thinking, right? So
yes,
it is the
yes.
5 profiles, which if you tune into this podcast a lot, we don't see the world like anyone else. Like we see the world like this like bird's eye view, and it's like very much like, it's not like, okay, I'm looking at one problem like the earthquake. It's like, oh, where does this connect to this, and how does it affect this, and boom, 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 boom. And if I don't do this, this is how this affects. And if I take this action today, this is what it's going to look like in 3 years' time. And it's just like, this is why we do need we do need the rest. And I think it's the
Yes.
5s that are here to bring in new strategies for this age of Aquarius that we're in redeveloping all systems. And there's a lot of actually of how you're approaching things that like would work in so many different industries as well. But your approach to humanity, so how did you go about this? You're like, right, great, we're going to set up a charity, we're going to raise loads of money, but then it's like, how did you build the connection in the local market? How do you, like, I suppose, bridge that cultural gap? Language barriers, political barriers.
I think the first thing that everyone can do, and it's the most important thing, is to be a learner and coming in with curiosity and a willingness to listen to other people and ask good questions. So that kind of forms the basis of, we're really passionate about asset-based community development. So instead of going in and looking at the problems and what's wrong, you come in and see what the community already has going for them. And I think it sounds really academic or technical, but it's just a perspective shift that is everyone can do. You go in and rather than saying what's wrong, what needs to be fixed, what can change, you look for the good that already exists within that community, because every place, every person, every community has something good going for it already. And then you build off of that.
Yes. As opposed to just coming in with your like solution from somewhere else and going, adapt to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
like we don't have the solutions.
Adapt
What I
to,
thought what I thought I would be doing coming into this and what we're actually doing now are completely different. And that's like the beauty of it, is coming in and it's not coming in with this agenda and this plan. It's like, okay, we're going to come in. Our plan was to talk to people and listen and see what they needed. And we've spent 4 years doing that, and we're headed in a very different direction than where we started, because the community's needs are different than what we thought they would be, of course, as they should be, right? Like the community knows best what they need.
so just to give anyone who's listening a bit of kind of context, I suppose, on the humanitarian landscape and need for aid right now in Myanmar. I know obviously we're here in podcastathon to be like, talking about change and whatever, but I don't think there's a better country to do a case study on than Myanmar, actually, in terms of its challenges. So let it rip. We've been in civil war 5 years.
Oh, well, way longer than that. It's like 70 something years at this point. The coup happened 5 years ago last week. We've got 16 million people in need of humanitarian aid, 4 million people displaced. Funding has dried up across the world for almost everybody. So things are changing. The entire landscape is changing. And so I'm very hopeful that many systems will be shaken up in the coming years, including the humanitarian aid one, but I think it's going to require a lot of flexibility adaptability and out of the box thinking.
Well, we know you're leading the change on this and consulting for charities on different ways that they can be approaching this. But when you're saying
Yeah.
that the aid is drying up, are you talking about for Myanmar or are you talking about globally?
Globally.
Really? Because not that
Yeah.
I obviously care about the whole world, but like me, I'm like Myanmar is like where I divert my attention because it just fucks me off how nobody in the world talks about it. Like I actually do go on from time to time. I just put in Myanmar into Google and hit news, and I'm kind of going, wow.
Yeah.
It's like 55 fucking million
Crickets.
people are just forgotten about. And it really does. It really activates like a bit of a warrior in me. And sometimes I have to like actually shake out the anger before I come on and record because otherwise people will be like, God, this girl is a fucking crazy bitch. So here's my more polite version of myself. Why is the aid drying up? Because people are, yeah, why is it drying up?
Well, I think a big catalyst in this is that the current administration in the United States froze all the USAID funding last year, which set off a massive, like, kind of ripple effect because a lot of times, whether we like it or not, what happens in the US has an effect a lot of other places. And so when that aid dried up, it created a cascade of events that has just impacted funding from like the highest level at the UN, who's looking at a massive funding shortfall, down to like the smallest NGOs, because that money from USAID would often go to the UN and other large international NGOs, and then that would fund smaller NGOs and kind of have this trickle down. And so everybody has been impacted globally 100%, and in Myanmar. Like we've seen hospitals shut down, entire refugee camps in Thailand that their funding was just gone overnight. People have lost their jobs. It's just been massive.
I wasn't actually aware of that on like in such a global level. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
but
it's
I'm
massive.
not seeing anything in the news about refugee camps being shut down because they're not being funded.
It's happening. It might not be making like headline news, but it's definitely happening. And then like there's good things coming out of it. So it's this really hard thing because it's really horrible. And it's like people are dying from this decision. And it wasn't laid out well. It wasn't the way that, like, when you study policy design, that policies are meant to be unveiled or shifted, right? Like, there's a way you can change policy and change direction without cutting off funding and leaving the most vulnerable dying. So that's like objectively horrible, but there's also like there's space then created for people to step up, and there's ways that like other governments are stepping in and filling those gaps and providing rights and services to people that they hadn't before. So there are some good things coming out of it, but it really, really messed a lot of people up. And that's what happens a lot of times, is you have these people in power up here who make these decisions that don't affect them at all. And then, like, millions, if not billions, of people are impacted negatively in their daily lives that are already really in tough positions. And it doesn't make the news. It's easy to ignore, it's easy to not know about. Like, you have to be looking for it to find it almost. And it's
Yeah.
it's very interesting.
No, it really, it's interesting. I'm sorry. I'm really just sitting with that whole, someone makes a decision here and it's like, boom, whatever. And it's just like men in suits in a fucking boardroom, that have never been on the
Yeah.
street or sat with the kid that's in the fucking trenches learning his bloody alphabet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the cause and effect of all these decisions. But I'm always like, and I love that. That's why I put that in my community, actually, the quote, be the change you want to see in the world. And I remember when I was over, that was actually what I got it engraved on my iPad when I lived in Myanmar in 2012, when I was going in to do this work, because I was really like, God, we're giving people access to communications and technology and
Mm-hmm.
electricity and health services. And it was just such a beautiful place. And I actually could not get over the level of poverty in the country, but the people they're just the nicest people that I've met, the Thai and the Burmese. For me, it's just always a place that has massively touched my soul. But like, I used to think it was like a cowboy world over there in terms of business, because it is. It absolutely is. It was the craziest place I've ever worked in my entire life. But it also allows you to be really fucking innovative, because when you come in as a Western person, and you can actually with your approach really work with the locals to actually create change. and innovate. And I'm like, I think to everyone now, like, and I want to, because there's an element of some parts of we're having this conversation, and you can kind of, I try to not fall down the rabbit hole of like the horror of the reality of how fucked up the systems have been, and actually, like, lean in. That's why I want to bring you on. I want us to have this conversation, be it like messy, unfiltered, and whatever, because that's the reality of where we are. Everyone's
Hmm.
trying to navigate out of a system that maybe we thought worked, and this is not just in humanitarian, this is like across the board.
Yeah,
And
across
it's
the
actually
board.
like, it's like, no, well, where can we bring in the change? And unless we're willing to talk about all the shit that's not working, well, then we can't actually create something that's going to be more sustainable for humanity. But for you, like, instilling hope, right? Going back to hope with the
Hmm.
results that you guys have achieved through your innovative approach so far, like, to showcase, say, some of the benefits. Because with Thrive, like, your mission is really much like looking at holistically, like, you've done papers and stuff on like trauma informed support as well for communities, which has never been looked at in the humanitarian space. And if we take even, like, say, the medical industry, for example, I'm sick, I go to the doctor, I'm given pills. It's not looking at any other area of my life. Like, what's my relationship like? What's my job like? Am I
Hmm.
exercising? What am I eating? And as a result, we've also seen that that's also the wrong approach. We need to, every single thing, regardless of whatever the freaking industry is, we need to look at like on a mind, body, and soul impact. And
Yes.
you guys are really innovative with this. So I'd love for you to share some of the impacts that you guys have made already.
That's an uncomfortable thing for me to talk about, but thanks
Why?
for challenging me.
I know. You're actually squirming with some of the questions that I'm asking you. I'm like, okay, come on. Girl, we
Love
got
it. I
this.
love it. So let's see. Last year, 2025, I've got the numbers here. We were able to get 263 patients were able to access medical care. There was no hospital. One of our partners sent in a team, a medic team, and they were able to see 263 patients that would not have been seen otherwise. 22 women who participated in a vocational training program and received microeconomic loans after the earthquake. All of them paid the money back in full, and that money will go into another pool for the next group of women to be able to get vocational training. That was amazing. We delivered 183 birth kits. So these birth kits are really way more than just a birth. It's supporting the entire family surrounding a birth when people are displaced. So those were delivered. That also means they get access to medical care because they have to access a medical provider in order to receive the bags, which increases the chance of a healthy birth. 15 women were trained in a sewing business model, and they received micro business skills and have gone back to their communities and introduced the first tailoring programs for many of the villages. Through that program, these women who sewed were able to put together 50 birth kits. So it's a little bit different than the more comprehensive kit that we typically send out, but these are sewed by the women and then dispersed through that area in 150 period kits, so reusable pads. And then with the earthquake, lots of water filters, lots of families received money like cash injections for home restoration or home rebuilds, or home repairs after the earthquake. 58 families received basics like food, cooking oil, cooking gas, soap, water. And then we reconstructed in a group effort with several nonprofits. We were able to reconstruct classrooms, air raid shelters, and stock libraries with books. And then we repaired one school. So my best guess at this point is around 2025, which is really nice for the year, people that were impacted. But that's just a guess because we don't know how many people are impacted. This is also missing our school. We sent 200 kids to school.
I was just gonna say, I was like, I swear I work for Thrive at this stage. I definitely think there's a few more other stats in there, but
We're
also,
missing some stats for sure.
I know obviously that's also, there's the direct, okay, X amount, but then there's the ripple effect of all of this.
Yes, exactly.
But I was actually kind of feeling there was the vibe of, I used to love that movie as a kid, Pay It Forward. Have you seen that
Yes.
movie?
Yeah, that's a
But it
long
kind of
time
sounds like
ago.
that, with the women. Oh, I haven't seen it, I think, since I was a child. I must watch it again. But I always love that concept. So when I now do something, I give to someone from overflow, I'm like, oh, paid for it. I don't want anything back. Get, like,
Yeah.
pass the nicest on to someone else. But you've kind of baked this in, I suppose, with women with the birth kits, and then all of a sudden, then they're also making it and creating that ripple effect onwards. Do you know?
Well, these are our partners who are doing this. This is what's amazing is I'm not baking this in. They're baking it in. And then I like, which I just love. Like I love how there's so much community care. Like I've learned so much from that. Like there's so much community care that people like the women in the vocational training, they were out like helping other people when their houses were destroyed from the earthquake. The women leading this, like their homes were destroyed by the earthquake, and they went out and fed their communities and helped their neighbors rebuild. And it's like, yeah,
And
what
what's
a
your
great
thought?
example.
What is your thoughts on this actually? Because I feel like the sense of community in, say, Myanmar in particular, like, or developing countries is real versus like the Western world. Like it can kind of, Western world can be, is like we've gone a bit more hyper individualistic, and it's like each for their own, or we're all kind of separated. Whereas in, I've never seen community come together like I did in Myanmar.
Oh, yeah, I think that's like, I think part of this shift in the world that we're seeing is a shift towards the majority world that understands at a very deep level our interconnectedness and our interdependency on each other. And I think those of us who are from the West and have these like historically privileged backgrounds have so much to learn.
Yeah, right. It's like it's
1000%.
I think no, I do. I sit when I went over to Asia last year. I really sat and observed that just so much more, and I'm kind of going like, wow, it really does make me sit and think. But that's a podcast for a different day because I'll go on down a completely different train of thought. For people in terms of that are here that want to get involved in, because here's the thing, right? Let's talk a little bit about guilt for humanity in general and the weight of the world. Because when a everyone cares to some level. Like we can all
Hmm.
say that. I don't even know actually how I'm going to get this out of my mouth in a coherent way. Basically, people I feel have become desensitized to the shit that goes on in the world.
Yeah.
And this is not to create shame or going, oh, you're not doing good enough, whatever. Because the reality is, most people, even in the Western world, are in survival mode. They're overloaded emotionally and energetically with systems collapsing. You've got the Epstein files that have just been released, and the whole world is going, what the actual fuck? Even though, well, many of us have been awake to the not so wondrous world for a long time. But it can be very easy to let the weight of all that come on you, and you can feel as one person, I can't actually affect that much change.
Not
And
true.
it's totally not true, but this is something people feel. So I feel like there's so many barriers for charities on an individual level. Forget about corporations and all this kind of shit. I'm talking about like actual human to human, and how we can all actually come together and make change. We've spent lives, being grown up, trusting governments, trusting political bodies, trusting the chart, and you think, oh, everything's been taken care of. It's very fucking not being taken care of. But at the same time, people are burnt out, like mentally. And it's like, I'm like, put your trust back into yourself. As we said, be the fucking change you want to see in the world. And
Yes.
what effort can each individual make? And be that, like, that might be in your community. You don't need to be like Melody and go and set up a charity and move to Asia or anything. But it's like, you can take a cause that you feel passionate about to support, which in my case, I chose you guys. I'm like, I can't get involved in everything, but I was like, I always made this promise to myself when I left Myanmar. I was like, I feel I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something here at some point in time. I was like, this land, these people gave so much to me, and this is
Hmm.
what I feel called. And we obviously spoke, and we're like, oh, what can we do? Like, we'll do this podcast event. We did the podcast before, we did a fundraiser. Now, like, I've set up new digital products. I'm like, right, well, 5% of that will go to you guys, which is like, it's no skin off my back, right? It's actually just me thinking, okay, well, what do I value? What's important for me? Where can I be giving back? And then you just plan it in, and
Yes.
every single person who's listening to this show can do that. And that can be a dog shelter. It could be cancer. It's like a cause that you feel passionate about. But I want to hear from you actually in terms of the challenges, right? So you've got the challenges on the level of like actually getting aid to people on the ground, finding the partners, navigating the political landscape, safety, as a
Yes.
white person and a Western person trying to help the people in Myanmar also is a risk to your life actually right now. And that's one side. Then you've got the other challenge of actually getting the fundraising in to support these projects, which is like marketing awareness, which is why we're here today doing this show. But how hard does it become to fundraise and get money from people because we've become desensitized to all the trauma porn on the internet?
If I'm honest, I cried about it this morning.
Yeah, no,
Like straight up. Cried in my office and was like, "What? How do we do this?" Because it's not easy. It's very difficult every day for all of the reasons you just named. And it was a really long journey for me, and I have immense amounts of privilege on a variety of levels, but the journey that I think we all can take, regardless of where we come from, is being who we are, because that's like we have this unique offering to the world. You have a unique, one of a kind offering that you have to the world, and I have the same, and the world desperately needs each person to show up as who they are. And I think there's like a design, like at a bigger level, for us to be overwhelmed and discouraged and to shut down and to burn out. Like that's not accidental. And I think the biggest thing we can do to resist is one, to figure out who we are and to be that. And then two, not to isolate, right? Like we need each other. We need community. We need to be involved in each other's lives. I think one of the biggest, I've been talking a lot about activism lately, is not like some high and lofty goal. We can all be activists in talking to our neighbors, in asking questions, being uncomfortable, learning from other people. Like sometimes it means I have to get off of Facebook and Instagram so that I'm not like hearing the constant, like, you need the things that people want me to focus on that aren't where I'm at right now. Like sometimes I need to put my head down and be like, I'm in this field right now and this is what I'm doing and this is the zone and I'm going to stay here and do the best I can here. But for those of us that are like from the Western world, most of us have money to be able to give. And so, yeah, it takes a little bit of work. It's a little uncomfortable to find places that you trust and are using the money well, but it's like put the time and effort in, it's worth it. Because it does make a difference. Like we all can make a difference. That's a like a the oh, my little thing doesn't matter is a like it's total bullshit. It
it is.
matters. Like $5 matters in the world that I work in so much. Like £5, €5, $5, like is a massive game changer for people. And it's our privilege that allows us to think that that doesn't matter.
100%. And $5 for, give me an example, is that how much is it to send a child to school per week?
I don't know off the top of my head because that's a number.
I
I've
know
posted it somewhere.
we said this before, and we're like, this is a real unfiltered podcast now, not a greenwashing show. But I do
It's
remember
not
what,
greenwashed.
yeah, maybe red washed. No, but I
I think
remember
we
we
can
said
send a teacher.
it was something I remember in the Christmas campaign we did, and it was like something like, it was like that could be $25 per month sends a child to school and keeps them out of
Yes,
war.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
It's not like 500-600 euros. It's like, so if you're
No.
thinking you give up your one latte a week for a month,
Yes.
will send a child to school. And that is actually by you just like pausing this podcast right now, hitting the Thrive link on the show notes and going in and making a donation to Thrive. And this is the work that the guys are doing. And like, and I'll be honest in terms of like, there's definitely times where I have buried my head in the sand also,
Oh,
right?
me
Where I'm
too.
like, yeah, I'm
Me
like,
too.
this is just getting
100%.
too much for me. I can't take the word. And I'm a manifester as well, right? So like, we feel the collective energy, and I feel like grief so deeply. Oh my God. And when the piece in Myanmar came, and I really had to lean into, well, my own design and come back to alignment to make a decision, because the anger that came up in me was actually off the charts. Well, first of all, it was grief. I remember just crying so much, and everyone was talking about Thailand, and I'm kind of going, the earthquake wasn't even in Thailand. And I knew, because I've been in that world. I've seen the corruption. I've lived there. And I also, because I remember also after the tsunami that had happened years back in Thailand as well, in the village outside Yangon, was completely wiped out. And I'd visited there, and everyone was telling me about all the thousands of people that had died and stuff. And it really just left an imprint on me. And I was kind of going like, no. And then it really brought me back into the political system. And I'm kind of going like, it's just not serving because what was going on in the States, actually, something significant last year was the elections. That thing. That was going on at the time, and I'm kinda going, "This is just like no one." And but I had to feel it all. I had to get in, I was, like, absolutely
Mhm.
fucking raging around the house, and, yeah, I think the kids were kinda like, "What is going on here? She's lost the run of herself." But I just was like, "Something needs to change, guys," there, and I went out for a walk, and I just, like, stormed it out, and I was like, "Right, that's it, I'm gonna do a podcast." There's one point I was like, "Right, I'm giving away 50% of all my courses, I'm gonna do," like, but then I was like, "No, no, no, you're going into savior mode now, and you need to come
Mhm.
back into aligned manifestor mode." And so anyway, but I had to express the rage. I had to let the tears
Mhm.
flow. I had to walk. I had to regulate, and then I come back into groundedness, into neutrality, and I was like, right, okay, what are my values? What can I do here to create change? And then obviously, then I reached out to my old network, and then it obviously brought us to connecting because I was like, no, I want to
Mhm.
find people on the ground that I can trust because I know how hard it is to get the freaking money in. And so be it from there. Like that's the beginning of something. But even for me, then at times then I started to get really angry and upset because I'm like, this isn't fucking big enough. There's 55 million people in this country. This isn't making enough impact. And I just couldn't get over even the lack of awareness. People were like, where's Myanmar? So a lot of people don't even know that Myanmar is its own country. And I'm just like,
Yes.
oh my dear Lord. So I actually was like, okay, calm down, come back to some solutions. So we've come up with a couple of things now that we're gonna like trial out, scale up this year, 2026. Few other things that you guys were doing, which I love this idea. We were chatting before we came on, was like doing hosting charity dinners. So
Yes.
like hosting a fundraiser where you invite people over instead of just like, I mean, it's nice to connect with your friends, but it's also bring your friends in and show part of yourself. I'm actually fundraising for this cause. I'm inviting everyone over for dinner on whatever night, and it's 50 euro, €100 a head. We're actually going to do something cooler. Well, sorry, not something cooler, but something uh we're doing something cooler. We're doing something actually more strategic, but also like outside of just our friendship circle. And we're like, I'm going to look at we've got this like human design game, and it's actually so people are coming to get an event and an experience that they pay for, but then all of the proceeds are going to you guys who are creating the impact. Like, what other cool ways have you guys experimented with raising funds? Because like you're working with like normal people, like corporations as well, but it's a lot of just, I was going to say average people like myself. I don't want to call myself average.
We have actually have a whole page on our website about this. So we've had people do origami sessions where they teach kids to do origami. It's another kid. So we have a kid who teaches other kids how to do origami, and then they donate for the class, and the class proceeds go to Thrive. We've had someone donate their birthday. So they made a tray of brownies and they put out a donate like QR code, and people donated how much they would normally pay for a brownie, or they gave their birthday gift to her and she donated that money to Thrive. We've had kids do like lemonade stands, bake sales, dinners where yeah, you get friends together and you're like, yeah, we normally would pay, $100 for this really nice dinner, but we're going to do 150, and that extra money is just going to go on to the next thing. So there's lots of ways to get involved. You can run, you can bike, you can do triathlons, swim. We're an active family. We all like to move, so we like that option too. You can raise money for a good cause while you exercise.
Yes.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. There's so many trivia nights. If people are into trivia, you can do a trivia night where you like hire a host to host trivia, and then the money goes to the charity of your choice. There's so many options.
Amazing. For someone who's like, okay, great. How then they raise the money, and then how can they get the money to their charity of choice without paying all the fees? Huge fees.
Well, there's usually like processing charges. The cheapest way, if like I'm really going on a deep dive, is usually to send an ACH or a like directly to that. Like maybe that's an American term. I'm like maybe getting too deep. It's like bank to bank, so it's not
Like a
through a
bank
credit
transfer.
card. Yeah, like a bank transfer. In the US, it's called an ACH, so it's like a electronic check. Those are usually the lowest fees. Credit cards are usually a little bit higher. Then you get to PayPal, and it's starts creeping up. If
So
you go
here,
through a website, I know that's like really granular. We might not.
No,
Go that deep.
girl. w- First of all, I'm actually more thinking like if I actually to sit like objectively from the outside and just go, why the fuck are PayPal and Stripe or anybody charging processing fees on charity donations? That
They give us
alone
a
would.
discount,
Oh, they okay.
but we
That's so
still
nice.
have to pay.
Yeah, because I remember dealing with GoFundMe on our fundraiser, and that was a bloody nightmare because they're like, no, we don't have the money into Myanmar. I basically nearly had to send a DNA sample to get the freaking cash out. It was
It
like,
was a lot of emails.
oh my God, girl. I was like, my patience has been really tested here. I was like, I am volunteering. This is, oh my God. It was definitely, it was challenging. So is there not a way? Like, I mean, we're in podcasts on now, right? This is 2,600 podcasters in the world. And if you want to, let's actually like shake this shit up. I'm like, why is there not a collective campaign of going waive processing fees for charities? Does that not like that's like an extra
That'd be
2-3%?
amazing. I mean, yeah, it is. It's a at minimum 2.5% upwards cost per transaction every time.
So I don't know. I'm going to take this as an initiation through this podcast for everyone, and maybe we can get something going on this. Actually, we'll see the power of like the collective people coming together because that obviously is a freaking. It's a no brainer. I mean, it's no skin off their nose, and it's part no, but like, but this is the level that we need to only start thinking of. Like, I mean, well, PayPal, GoFundMe, Stripe, whoever else, like this can be also that's you don't need greenwashing campaigns if you actually just put in the actual correct systems and things as things move forward. And I would be more likely then to actually continue to use, say, Stripe, which actually was founded by two Irish people, as my payment processor then over PayPal because of that. And I think we all need to start thinking like as individuals to affect change that we're only buying into brands and companies that actually align with our values. And that's the only way we're going to starve out the patriarchy colonialism that is in the systems in the first place.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we pay, I want to say, I don't know the exact number again because I don't remember numbers, but several thousand a year just to have the nice little box that people want to make donating easy. And right, like that's part of the experience. People want to make giving easy, and I'm happy to pay for that. But it gets a little like I lose my mind a little bit when I know how much that money could go towards a hospital or feeding kids or sending kids to school or but we just and for us that's like right you have to pay that cost. That's the cost to get this money the places it needs to go, and I'm happy to do that. But there's also moments where I'm like, why are we paying so much just to have access?
Yeah, and I would when I was talking kind of fees, I suppose I was more thinking of the overall, like and say I remember when I lived in Myanmar actually in some of the big humanitarian aid companies, and the people the wage bill in these companies humongous, like as in like anyone that worked there were living in like the nicest houses that were like thousands of euros with the private
Yes,
job.
yes,
The show.
yes.
And I was just like, wow, I want that job. It was better than
Me
they were
too.
they were better treated than some of the private sectors. So there's elements of like there's some element where I am like it's more those type of fees. I know that doesn't exist with you guys, but then yeah, we have the processing fees because yeah, like a €250 donation is two kids. 2.5% is two children that could have gone to school for just that one payment.
Yeah, and then there's also the reality on the other side of it that like we need a livable wage to
Yeah.
make this operate. We need to pay for like transparency things like accounting and like legal fees to have us be legal in the United States and to be legal in the countries where we operate and whatever. Like that adds up. So like there's this I think myth in the charity world about no admin fees, and you see a lot of big nonprofits who are like we have 0% admin fees. It's not true. It's just good marketing.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
You
Yes.
need good admin fees to invest in good technology and good systems and to be able to like maximize the money that you're bringing in. So like there's this always this tension of right like I could pay for this and it might expand my reach or my scope and my ability to bring in more money. So you're constantly weighing as a founder, like how much do we give to projects? Because I want all of it to go to projects, but you can't sustain if you give all your money to projects either. There has to be like some thought leadership and some systems operating in the background that make it all sustainable and viable.
100%. And like this, And from this, I don't want for anyone to, I don't believe, and I really fundamentally mean this, as in like, I don't believe in service with self-sacrifice. Like it's,
I used to.
I used to as well. And I actually just I wanted to emphasize that because I think part of me sounded there like, I'm like, oh, well, they're going around their big cars and they're thinking, whatever. I'm all for,
It's
I
true
don't,
though. There's
no, no.
both, right?
There's yeah. So not that I don't. I believe you should have a nice car and home and all this kind of stuff. It's not. I'm not coming from this place of particularly. I know Irish. We can be fuckers for this like that. I begrudgery. We'll look at you, whatever. It's more just the level. When you've seen it.
Yes.
It's
Yes, I've seen it.
extravagant. It's not. It's not. It's yeah. It's just yeah. It's just not. I don't even know how
Sort
to
of,
actually get.
it's because, right, there's a tension. There's a tension of like, where's that line and how do we find that line and how do we ebb and flow in those spaces? And I think that one of the things I've seen really done well is, I think it's the Mennonite convention. They have a rule that the CEO can't make more than 3 times of the lowest paid worker. And I love it. I'm like, that's a brilliant model. Like, there's just accountability built into the system. So yeah, the CEO gets paid more, of course. Like, there's a different level of responsibility and whatever that goes into that, but it's not going to be an exorbitant amount where like your lowest paid worker is making nothing and then they're making, millions. So there are ways, like, right, there's ways to do it, because I've seen the people who have the Rolex and the really nice car and they live in the nicest house in the city and like are making tons of money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't, but there's also like a balance to it, right? Like, what's their lowest paid employee making, and is it similar? Is there a balance to the system?
Yeah, I think it's about fairness. Like, I mean, the thing is, like, and we talked about this actually in our podcast, which I will link in the show notes as well, the leadership through crisis.
Hmm.
And this is, I mean, even for me, talking about like, we're talking about like awareness patterns. We like the best service that we can all be in the world is being the best version of ourselves. It's coming home to who we really
Yes.
are, what we're
Yes.
passionate about, and into our own personal alignment. And I know what that version of me, the overfunctioner, and I did feel that those old patterns resurfaced last year when initially the earthquakes. I was like, I was about to go in and fully commit to shit that was going to sacrifice myself. And I'm like, no, you need to,
I did.
yeah, yeah. But don't worry because this is the journey to stepping into this new earth leadership, right? It's like, it's healing all of this old programming, old conditioning. This is the reality of it. It's messy. Like, we're not coming on here going like,
It
oh, here
is.
it's 1, 2, 3. We're all navigating this new way together. But when you come back down to more like the self, like, we're not useful to anybody when we are misaligned ourselves. So like, yes, and I feel as well like we deserve to have abundance for the work we have as individuals. I fundamentally believe that it's not a case of like, oh, to be a good person I need to give everything away. If you bring things back down to the universal laws, it's like the law of giving is like, donate 10% of whatever you're generating into causes that you're passionate about, and that keeps like the flow moving. And I'm like, just do that. Just do that, right?
Yep.
And don't put yourself under any more pressure. And it's like, it's leading from, because regardless, right? Like, and I teach this with people in business, like we look at our chakra system,
Hmm.
and like we've got our root, our solar plexus, our root, sacral, solar plexus, right? So our lower chakras. When we're ungrounded, when we are tired, like we're not accessing our upper chakras. We're not able to channel the best information and connect with clear thoughts that are like, that will create impact. We will act from a place of like chaos, scarcity, because if our basic needs are not being met, this is why I'm like, to anyone, I'm kind of going like, focus on this first. Like, this is your foundation if we want to lead. And then we will think of better solutions that will actually create more sustainable change, as opposed to just like, I'm doing something just this one time to just feel good about myself, and then I'm going to put that back in a box, you know? So it's like, and this is why I was like, no, like, Melody, let's have this conversation and talk about the shittiness and the messiness and the confusion. And like, we're not really totally sure, but this is how we're showing up with integrity in line with our values. And
Yes.
we're navigating a new way together, you know?
Well, and it's like, I mean, I tell my kids this all the time. Miss Frizzle said it from the Magic School Bus. get messy, make mistakes, and have fun. Like, we don't need to get it right. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to get things wrong, but at least we're out there trying, and at least we're out there learning. And I think when we're discouraged or feeling burnout, we just want to quit. And my coach the other day, I was feeling tired and burnt out and discouraged, and I wanted to quit. She's like, great, go quit, but show up the next day. She was like, if you need to quit today, quit today. Great, go quit. But then show up tomorrow and do something. And it sums it up so well, because it's like, yeah, like, things are hard. There are days where by the end of the day, I'm like, I just want to quit this all. It's way too much. So I quit, and I take the time I need to. And I sometimes it's just that night, sometimes it's a day or two, sometimes I need to just do one thing a day because I'm exhausted and I need time to like recalibrate and rebuild. But it's like, no, keep going, do something. Because I think when we're burnt out and tired, we want to just like, at least I want to, I just like want to check out, and I just want to do nothing, and I want to turn off. And like, there are times for that and places for that, 100%. But sometimes it's like, you know what, I just need to be done and turn off for now, and then tomorrow I need to get up and do the next right thing. I need to do the next right thing tomorrow. And maybe that's only one thing. But then the next day I do the next right thing. And that starts to build a momentum and a movement if you just every day do the one small thing that's in front of you. But it
And
requires
then
discomfort.
yeah, it all requires discomfort. Like and this is what we all need to get used to. Like, we're recording this now, we're ending the snake, moving into the year of the horse, which we're all so glad for. And it's actually kind of it's interesting as well, right? That you also jumped into the space that was the beginning of that 9-year cycle as well. It was like the beginning of you stepping into humanitarian work and your purpose
Yes.
work, and now it's coming to the end. It's like, boom. Okay, so Melody Crisp, what is the future? If you're like, anything's possible. And I know we've felt this energy. So if we've to like strip back the red tape, strip back the bullshit, all the thing, and it's like a dream world moving forward of like how you envision, well, obviously Thrive, but of the charity space in general, evolving and innovating over the next, say, 12 months. What do you want to see?
12
Everyone
months, I
donate
was
to
thinking
Thrive,
12
obviously.
years.
Well, for the next, yeah, for the next 9-year cycle, but I want to, like, what do you want in the next 12 months for Thrive in particular? But overall in the charity space, what change do you want to see?
At Thrive, I want to see abundance and hope. Our theme at Thrive for this next 12 months is rooted and rising. So I want us to grow our team and our community to grow deeper roots, because I think the roots are good, and to keep growing steadily and with hope and with vision. And I mean, I want that for the humanitarian aid world, but I think my bigger vision for the humanitarian aid world is that the voices that know, the voices with the knowledge and the belonging and the being, which are the community voices, that those are the ones that are going to rise up and be heard. I think it's we're done with this Western white male like system, and it's time for the women and men, but the people of color, the communities that really have been the roots and the groundedness of our planet for a very, very long time, thousands of years. It's time to listen to those voices. It's time for realignment. It's time for them to be recognized as the leaders that they are and the rooted places that they have developed and created. And there's so much to learn about hope and joy and resilience and abundance and love from the communities that have been through the ringer and back, because that's not new for most people in the world right now. Like, I think we in the affluent West are having this reckoning, but and it's affecting everyone deeply. I'm not saying it's not, but I think there's so many communities that have been affected by conflict for hundreds of years, and they've found ways to move through it, and we need to learn from them and listen.
Yes, nailed on, girl. And one last question on this, because I think this could be a masterclass in itself. But I know you've done a lot of work on this in terms of ethical storytelling, because I know we all find the thing with social media is it's like the trash can of media now, right? In terms of we've all been almost trained by this algorithm into like it's like a ball of unprocessed trauma is what I feel energetically when I go onto Instagram feed now. And in terms of for business, and that drives marketing strategies and it drives business strategies as well. And it's kind of almost like we're driven by an algorithm because like yes, it was being driven by, you know, patriarchal ways, whatever. But then you've got the consumer. And then the attention span has been also reducing and the conversions aren't happening the same on a commercial level. So then the behavior has changed this way, which changes the human behavior. And all of a sudden it's kind of, we've actually been trained into be these other versions of ourselves that's actually really disconnected from humanity. We see things happening, but a lot of people are in like, I don't know, like some sort of trauma response, like functional freeze. The action that
Hmm.
gets taken in response to that is actually, it's very little. And this is what I've seen in terms since
Yes.
doing some work with you guys. And a big piece of that is around ethical storytelling. And this is, we've talked about this before on a podcast on in terms of like there's fundraising and then there's also like people promoting even say healing work and like, filming someone when they're in the middle of a trauma release, not fucking cool. Like filming to the level of what we're seeing in some of the war zones. And that's just like, we're getting access, our brain is getting access to that when I'm sitting eating my cereal in the morning. Not cool either. Like, so but so what advice would you have for people who are passionate about causes, because I know you guys have done this well by actually bringing out some of the locals and getting to share their story in a way else that's not polished. Because I've actually seen this firsthand on the ground. This being done before, where it's kind of going like, no, put on a cleaner shirt there and whatever, because it was going on a fundraising thing, and I'm kind of going, but that's not reality. Like people aren't going around in a nice shirt.
I think we're going to see a shift towards more authentic communication and hopefully, like, right? And that's what I think where Thrive and other nonprofits can do well is, yes, is through we're not changing the shirt, right? Like, we're not staging the moment. And then the thing is that's hard is we don't share a lot because if our partners on the ground say this is risky, then we're just like, okay, then we're not sharing it, which means, right? It's you have to share authentically. We're working really hard to get stories from the ground and creating like composite stories and getting pictures where nothing identifying is shown and where we can share, things mixed together so it doesn't put anyone at risk. But I think it just also it goes back to relationships, right? Like I think I'm not saying get offline entirely, but I think like we need to be offline more, sharing with networks that aren't all social media oriented, talking to friends, word of mouth. But then, yeah, I think when you are in those spaces, because they're unavoidable, it's being authentic and sharing things respectfully and honestly. And I think that is going to stand out because there's so much more like AI slop and stuff that's just not real. Like, right, it's manufactured moments or exploited moments. And I think people are going to have to develop a filter for that. And so finding places that are committed to authentic storytelling and ethical storytelling and things that aren't perfect and then are sometimes pulled together so that they can be shared, right? Because I can't share the authentic moments. I can't share 90% of what we do. It's not safe.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that? Actually, the reality of that, because a lot of people will understand why it's not safe.
Because people are targeted for what they share. So the military junta in Myanmar targets people, including me, who speak out about what's really going on. So we can't share locations or like it's a huge risk to show your name and face because then that creates a pathway for them to locate you. And so when we do things, we don't share it in real time. We often will blur out faces, change names, or we composite stories so that nothing is risking the people. But yeah, most of the work that I do on the day to day, I can't tell people about. It's not safe for me or them.
Yeah. And I really just want to take this moment to celebrate you and your husband and everybody for all of the work that you guys have done, because I know the landscape in Myanmar it's crazy. And to see, like, it's like, I mean, there's developing resiliency in the world of business or trying to do good, and then there's what you guys are doing. Like I fundamentally believe that because I've been there and I've seen it. But what the crazy piece is that, like, we're in this war in the world of light and dark now. And you guys are there with, which I can 100% vouch for, like, operating with total integrity, trying to make change in the world. And then there's all these amazing people that have been affected by the war and earthquakes that are displaced on the ground trying to do good. They're not, as you said, their house was destroyed by the earthquake and they're still out there helping other people. And they have the military coming and picking them up and killing them or putting them in prison right now because they're trying to help people. And that's the reality of actually what's happening. So that's for me, I'm kind of like, to anyone, I'm going like, just donate the €5. Donate €5 every week. Donate €10. Organize something. I mean, it's a no-brainer. People need to talk about this more. So I want to celebrate you guys. If there's any kind of a call to action you want to give people that are listening today to reach out, maybe they want to be a charity partner for you, or maybe they want your amazing strategic brain to help strategize for their partnership.
Yes.
Anything else?
Well, what else? Do something, I think, is just do one thing, like just do the next right thing. So whether it's giving $5 every month or hiring us for coaching calls or reaching out to a neighbor that you haven't talked to or you don't know or you're curious about, just like, I think it's doing the next best thing with consistency over time has like massive, massive impacts. So it doesn't have to be this big grand gesture. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can get it wrong. You can mess it up and you can start again tomorrow. And I think that's like the most important part is just do one thing today and then get up and do one thing tomorrow. And pretty soon you have thousands of things that have happened that have had ripple effects because it does impact other people.
Amazing. And I'm going to give one last initiation to everybody listening and to like the thousands of people that are involved in Podcastathon as well. I'm going to reach out to the founders on this because there's no reason actually as to why we can't get some sort of a like, let's waive processing fees for charities for 2026.
Yeah, would love it.
If anybody knows anybody, like, and really like, this is like this. I've actually had a few little experiments on this before. Like, 'cause it's like only the 7 degrees of separation. And I'm kind of going like, if people come together, it's amazing what we can make happen. So I'm like, please share this podcast. Connect us. Let's get something going on this processing thing. I actually really feel like that would really make good collective change. Make a donation. If you don't feel like called to invest in Thrive, like, choose something that you are passionate about and start taking the action because exactly as Melody said, it's getting momentum. So, and that helps. I find now for me, it's like, right, I'm showing up in a way that of something I'm passionate about. It's like, and it's not enough by any means. Like I'm still getting frustrated as fuck right now, but this is why we're here. But I'm like, I know that I'm just going to keep showing up the same way as I do in any other areas of my life, whether it was business or a new program. I'm going to keep showing up. And I was like, we're all going to come together and start making bigger moves in the right direction. But it happens. It's not one person. We know it's not an establishment or it's not a government body that's going to make this change. It's going to be every single person that's listening to this show, aligning with themselves, their essence, and then us coming together in our own zones of genius that's actually going to create change.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Well, big love, beautiful. I look forward to seeing you.
So good to be with you.
In real life. So we didn't touch on this today, but Melly does a lot of like trauma work with her communities, which is like, again, the holistic part to healing. And we had a little vision on doing something fun this year. So watch the space. Who the hell knows? Let's keep leading with love. And showing up in service from overflow. And thank you so much for joining us today, Melody.
Thank you so much for having me, Elaine.
Thanks everyone for sharing and for getting processing fees waived for charities.
I love it.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey in activating your higher self. I'm so grateful to every listener in this community and would love to know what you think. So drop into my DMs or send me a message and be a part of the expansion of our collective by subscribing, sharing, and leaving a 5-star review. And let's rise and flow together.